Admiral Versailles stood motionless at the observation deck of his flagship, his four eyes fixed on the peculiar formation of Earth's defense fleet. 3 decades of commanding the Galactic Concordat's most elite fleets hadn't prepared him for this moment. The human vessels, crewed by Concordat standards, moved with a precision that defied their technological limitations. Most unusual, wouldn't you say, Commander Zix? Versailles' secondary arms traced patterns in the air, following the Earth ship's movements. His aide, a younger Concordat officer, stepped forward with a data tablet. The humans claim these are routine patrol exercises. Admiral, Zix reported, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue hue. But their formations, they're executing a modified version of the Crimson Spiral. Versailles' upper eyes widened while his lower pair narrowed, a gesture of intense interest among his species. The Crimson Spiral was an advanced combat maneuver developed by the legendary Admiral Ixthor over 3 centuries ago. Its existence was known only to the highest ranks of the Concordat fleet. How could they possibly? Versailles' voice trailed off as he watched a smaller human vessel execute a perfect pivot and shield formation, synchronizing with its larger counterparts in a dance that spoke of countless hours of practice. The delegation chamber aboard Earth's orbital station awaited them, but Versailles found himself reluctant to leave the observation deck. Something about these humans didn't add up. Their species had achieved faster-than-light travel barely 2 decades ago. Their ships still relied on primitive fusion drives, yet here they were, casually demonstrating military precision that had taken other civilizations centuries to master. Admiral, Zix interrupted his thoughts. The human Space Command representatives are ready for our meeting. They've prepared a presentation on their training methods. Versailles' external gill flaps rippled in amusement. Their training methods? Yes, I'm quite interested in those. He turned from the window, his ceremonial robes shimming with embedded light crystals that marked his rank. Tell me, Zix, have you noticed how young some of their bridge officers are? Yes, sir. Their youngest captain is merely 28 Earth cycles old, barely an adult by Concordat standards. The journey to the delegation chamber gave Versailles time to compose his thoughts. The station's curved corridors were filled with a mix of human and alien personnel, all going about their duties with practiced ease. He noticed something else. Many of the younger human officers carried personal devices, their fingers moving across screens in patterns that seemed oddly familiar. The delegation chamber itself was a testament to humanity's rapid adaptation to galactic standards. Holographic displays showed various star systems, and environmental controls automatically adjusted to suit each species' preferences. Admiral Sarah Chen, the human representative, greeted them with a warm smile. Admiral Versailles, welcome to Earth Station 1, she said, extending her hand in the human greeting custom. I trust you found our patrol demonstrations interesting. Versailles accepted the handshake, noting how Chen's eyes held the same sharp intelligence he'd seen in many human officers. Interesting is an inadequate word, Admiral Chen. I observed maneuvers today that reminded me of historical battles I've studied extensively. Chen's smile remained diplomatic, but Versailles caught a flicker of something, pride, perhaps, in her expression. We believe in thorough training, Admiral. Our officers spend considerable time in simulations before taking command. Simulations, Versailles repeated the word carefully. Would it be possible to observe these training facilities? Of course, Chen replied. Though I should warn you, some of our methods might seem unconventional by Concordat standards. A commotion outside the chamber drew their attention. Through the transparent walls, Versailles watched as a group of human children rushed past, laughing and pointing at devices in their hands. One child's voice carried clearly, No. You've got to maintain triangle formation if you want to break through their shields." Versailles' 4 eyes tracked the children until they disappeared around a corner. When he turned back to Admiral Chen, he found her watching him with an unreadable expression. "Perhaps," Versailles said slowly, "we should begin with those training facilities you mentioned. I find myself increasingly curious about humanity's approach to space combat education." Chen nodded, gesturing toward the door. "Follow me, Admiral. I think you'll find our next stop quite enlightening." The Virtual Reality Gaming Center occupied an entire deck of Earth Station 1, its entrance adorned with holographic projections of space battles and exploration scenarios. Admiral Versailles watched as children and adults alike streamed in and out, their excitement palpable in the air. "This is a training facility?" Versailles asked, his lower eyes scanning the colorful advertisements for something called Stellar Command, Ultimate Fleet. Admiral Chen led him through the main entrance. "Not officially. This is primarily an entertainment center. Though many of our officers did grow up playing these games, the interior was a marvel of organized chaos. Dozens of pods lined the walls, each containing a player immersed in virtual reality. Holographic displays above each pod showed spectators what the players were seeing. Versailles noticed that many of the scenarios looked remarkably similar to actual space combat situations he'd encountered. "There," Commander Zix whispered, pointing to a central pod where a crowd had gathered. "That formation." Versailles moved closer, his gill flaps twitching in astonishment. On the display, a virtual fleet was executing a perfect helical defense pattern, a maneuver that had saved his own fleet during the Rigel incident. The player's username flashed at the corner. Star Commander _Sarah 12. "Remarkable," Versailles muttered. "The child has innovative variations I've never considered." Admiral Chen stepped beside him. "That's Sarah Chen, my daughter. She's been playing since she was 6. Currently ranked number 3 globally in fleet combat scenarios." Versailles' upper eyes blinked rapidly. "Your daughter? How old is she?" 12. "She practices here after her studies." Chen's voice carried a note of pride. "Would you like to see her command center setup?" The crowd parted as Versailles approached Sarah's pod. The girl's fingers danced across multiple haptic interfaces, her movements precise and economical. On the screen, her fleet split into 3 groups, executing a complex pincer movement that trapped the AI opponent's forces. That's the triangular suffocation gambit," Zix breathed. "But she's modified it. Look at how she's positioned her support ships." Versailles studied the screen intently. The girl had indeed modified the classical maneuver, adding an element of flexibility that made it nearly impossible to counter. Her virtual fleet moved with the same precision he'd observed in Earth's actual defense forces earlier. "Admiral Chen." Versailles turned to his host. "How many children play these games?" "Millions, globally. Stellar Command is particularly popular. The game developers work closely with retired military advisors to ensure realistic physics and tactical scenarios." Versailles watched as Sarah completed her mission, achieving the highest possible rating. The crowd cheered as she emerged from the pod, her face flushed with victory. She froze when she saw the alien dignitaries. "Mom, is everything okay?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide with curiosity as she took in Versailles' imposing figure. "Everything's fine, honey." Admiral Versailles was interested in watching you play. Chen smiled at her daughter. "Would you mind showing him your custom scenario?" Sarah's face lit up. "The one I designed last week." "Sure." She turned to Versailles. "Would you like to try it, Admiral? It's a defensive scenario against multiple attack vectors." Versailles felt his scales ripple with surprise. "You design scenarios as well." "The game has a really good editor," Sarah explained, leading him to the pod. "I based this one on historical battles I read about. Did you know that the Battle of Antares V used a double helix formation? I thought it would work better with a triple helix, so I modified it." Versailles' 4 eyes met in an expression of absolute amazement. The Battle of Antares V was classified information, yet this child had not only learned of it, but improved upon its strategies through a game. As he settled into the pod, Versailles' mind raced with implications. How many other young humans were unknowingly practicing advanced combat maneuvers? How many had developed innovations that even the Concordat's best strategists hadn't conceived? "Ready, Admiral?" Sarah's voice came through the pod speakers. "I'll start you with the basic version first." As the virtual starfield materialized around him, Versailles realized he wasn't just playing a game. He was witnessing the future of space combat evolution, born in the minds of children who thought they were simply having fun. Back aboard his flagship, Admiral Versailles sat surrounded by holographic displays of gaming data. 3 days had passed since his visit to the virtual reality center, and he hadn't slept since. His 4 eyes darted between screens showing thousands of gameplay recordings, match statistics, and player profiles. "Commander Zix," he called out, "display Sarah Chen's last 50 matches against the overlay of the Centauri conflict." The holograms shifted, merging into a complex pattern of light. Battle formations from a decade-old military engagement blended with a 12-year-old's gaming sessions. The similarity was uncanny. "It's not just her," Versailles muttered, his scales shifting to a deep purple of intense concentration. "Computer, expand search parameters. Show all players ranked in the global top 1,000. The room filled with new data streams. Thousands of battles, millions of decisions, countless innovations, all emerging from what humans considered mere entertainment. Versailles' secondary arms traced patterns in the air, following the flow of information. "Sir," Zix interrupted, entering with a fresh data tablet, "I've compiled the statistical analysis you requested. The correlation between gaming strategies and effective combat tactics is unprecedented." Versailles accepted the tablet, his upper eye scanning the numbers while his lower pair remained fixed on Sarah's latest match replay. "Look at this sequence, Zix. She's developed a counter to the quantum pincer movement." "But that's impossible," Zix protested, his scales paling. "The quantum pincer was only theorized last month in our most advanced tactical simulations. Yet here it is." Versailles gestured at the replay. "Not only countered but improved upon. And she's not alone. I found similar innovations from players across Earth's gaming networks." The Admiral rose from his chair, moving to the observation window. Earth hung below, a blue jewel in the void. His reflection showed scales now tinted with the gold of revelation. "We've been looking at this all wrong, Zix. We thought their military success came from some hidden training program, some secret advantage." He turned to his aide. "But the truth is far more remarkable. They've turned warfare into play, and in doing so, removed all the traditional constraints of military thinking." A notification chimed. On the main screen, a new match was starting. Sarah Chen had logged into the system, and this time, she was commanding a full battle group in a multiplayer scenario. "Watch this," Versailles instructed, his voice hushed with anticipation. "She's facing the top-ranked adult players in their server." The battle unfolded like a dance. Sarah's fleet moved with impossible grace, adapting to each opponent's strategy with fluid ease. When cornered, she didn't retreat. She created new tactical options that shouldn't have existed within the game's parameters. "Computer, analyze maneuver at time index 1422, Versailles commanded. The system's response was immediate. Maneuver contains elements of 17 known tactical patterns. Novel combination detected. Combat effectiveness estimated at 89% higher than standard responses. 17 patterns, combined in a way our best tactical AIs never considered. Versailles marveled. And she developed this while trying to have fun. Zix moved closer to the display, his scales shifting through shades of amazement. "Should we report this to the Concordat High Command?" Versailles was quiet for a long moment, watching as Sarah's virtual fleet secured another victory. "Not yet. I need to understand more. Humanity has accidentally created something extraordinary here, a training system that doesn't just teach combat, but encourages innovation through play." He turned to his aide, all 4 eyes gleaming with determination. "Schedule another meeting with Admiral Chen. Tell her I'm interested in discussing a cultural exchange program." "Sir, if anyone asks, we're studying human entertainment technology," Versailles explained. "In reality, we're going to document the most remarkable military advancement I've seen in 3 decades of service." On the screen, Sarah's victory celebration played out in text chat. Her opponents were congratulating her, asking about her strategies, eager to learn and improve. Versailles watched the exchange with growing understanding. They share knowledge freely, teach each other, compete without malice, he observed. They turned the art of war into a community of innovation, and they don't even realize what they've accomplished. The Admiral's scales settled into the deep blue of certainty. He had stumbled upon something that would change galactic military doctrine forever. And it all started with a child playing a game. Admiral Versailles' quarters had transformed into a tactical analysis center, with holographic displays covering every available surface. After weeks of data collection, patterns were emerging that defied conventional military understanding. Project Timeline Overlay, he commanded, his 4 eyes focused on the central display. Compare Earth's gaming tournament records with documented space engagements. The hologram shifted, showing 2 parallel streams of information. On one side, major gaming tournaments from the past decade. On the other, Earth's actual space combat encounters. The correlation was impossible to ignore. 3 months before the Proxima Centauri pirate incursion, Versailles noted, his scales rippling with excitement. The top-ranked players were all practicing scenarios that mirrored the actual battle strategies used. Computer, analyze victory conditions in Tournament Series 147. The AI responded promptly. Tournament victory, achieved through implementation of modified spiral defense pattern. Similar pattern observed in Proxima Centauri engagement, resulting in successful defense against numerically superior forces. Commander Zix entered the room, carrying fresh data from their latest observations. Admiral, you need to see this. Sarah Chen just completed a new custom scenario. Versailles turned his attention to the new data stream. His gill flaps fluttered in astonishment as he watched the replay. Sarah's virtual fleet was implementing a completely novel approach to energy management during combat maneuvers. This shouldn't be possible, he muttered. The energy distribution curve she's using. It bypasses the traditional limitations of shield harmonics. Computer, calculate potential real-world applications. Analysis complete, the AI announced. Theoretical energy efficiency increase of 42% in combat conditions. No existing tactical database contains similar approach. Versailles' secondary arms trace the pattern of Sarah's fleet movements. She created this because the game's standard tactics were too boring. Those were her exact words. Do you understand what we're witnessing? Zix. Innovation through entertainment, sir. More than that, humanity has created a system where their brightest minds can experiment without fear of failure. Every loss is just an opportunity to restart and try again. Versailles moved to the window, watching Earth's defense fleet conducting routine patrols. Their ships out there are using strategies developed by children playing games. A new alert caught his attention. Sarah had started another match, this time against a team of international players. Versailles quickly brought up their profiles. Look at this team composition, he pointed out to Zix. A 12-year-old tactical prodigy, a retired military strategist, a university physics student, and a professional gamer. Where else in the galaxy would you find such a combination working together? The match unfolded before them. Sarah's team was implementing her new energy distribution pattern, but now it was being enhanced by her teammates. The physics student had figured out how to maximize its efficiency, while the retired strategist adapted it for different vessel classes. They're building on each other's ideas, Zix observed, his scales shifting to match Versailles' excited gold tones. The game is becoming an incubator for tactical innovation. Versailles brought up another display, this one showing the historical development of space combat doctrine across various civilizations. Most species take centuries to develop new combat strategies. The risks of experimentation in real combat are too high. But humans, he gestured at the gaming data, they've compressed that timeline dramatically through play. A message notification interrupted their analysis. Admiral Chen was requesting a meeting to discuss the cultural exchange program. Perfect timing. Versailles said, his scales settling into a confident blue. I believe I'm beginning to understand the full scope of what humanity has achieved here. He turned to Zix, all four eyes focused with intensity. Prepare a secure channel to the Concordat High Command, classification level maximum, and download everything from Sarah's last match, every deviation from standard doctrine, every innovative solution. What are you planning, sir? Versailles' gill flaps rippled with something between amusement and admiration. I'm going to propose something unprecedented. If humanity can achieve this level of tactical advancement through games, imagine what they could do with access to our advanced simulation technology. On the main display, Sarah's team celebrated another victory. Versailles watched as they immediately began discussing improvements to their strategy, sharing ideas across continents and cultures, united by their love of the game. They turned warfare into an art form, he mused, and they did it by accident. The emergency transmission came during Earth's night cycle. Versailles was reviewing gaming tournament data when his ship's AI interrupted with a priority alert from Concordat High Command. Display message, he ordered, his scales shifting to alert crimson as the holographic message materialized. The transmission contained stellar cartography data that made all four of his eyes widen in alarm. A series of quantum anomalies had been detected along the galaxy's outer rim, forming a pattern that pointed directly toward Earth's solar system. Computer, verify this data against historical records, Versailles commanded, his secondary arms already reaching for the communication controls. Verified, the AI responded. Pattern matches theoretical models of the predecessor gate's reactivation sequence. Versailles' scales paled. The predecessors, an ancient civilization that had vanished millennia ago, had left behind a network of dormant gates. Every tactical simulation of their reactivation ended in catastrophic conflict. Get me Admiral Chen. Priority channel. While waiting for the connection, Versailles pulled up the latest gaming statistics from Earth's servers. His attention focused on a particular scenario that had become popular in recent weeks, a challenge involving the defense of multiple spatial coordinates simultaneously. Admiral Versailles. Chen's voice came through, slightly groggy from being awakened. What's wrong? Sarah's still awake, isn't she? Still playing. A pause. Yes, she's in a tournament. How did you? Access your secure terminal. Admiral, I'm sending data now. Versailles transmitted the Concordat findings. Tell me, does the pattern of these anomalies look familiar? He heard Chen's sharp intake of breath. This is almost identical to the Phantom Gate challenge that went viral in Stellar Command last month. The positioning, the energy signatures. Exactly, Versailles confirmed. Humanity's gaming network has been unconsciously preparing for this moment. Your players have been practicing defense scenarios against an enemy that hasn't arrived yet. But how is that possible? Versailles brought up another display, showing Earth's position relative to the ancient gate network. Your solar system sits at a crucial junction point. If the gates reactivate, Earth will be the first line of defense for this entire sector. I believe your game developers unknowingly tapped into residual quantum data from the dormant gates while designing their scenarios. Admiral. Zix interrupted, entering with new data. Sarah Chen's team just completed another tournament round. You need to see their strategy. The replay showed Sarah's fleet positioned in a complex, multi-layered formation that perfectly mirrored the theoretical defensive pattern needed to contain a gate reactivation. Remarkable, Versailles breathed. They're not just preparing for the threat. They're innovating solutions we haven't even considered. Admiral Chen, I need immediate authorization to integrate Concordat tactical systems with your gaming networks. You want to turn our games into actual defense preparations? Chen asked, quickly grasping the implications. Your daughter and millions like her have been practicing for this crisis without knowing it. They've developed strategies our best commanders wouldn't consider because they're not bound by traditional military thinking. Versailles' scales shifted to determined gold. We need to harness that creativity before the gates activate. A new alert flashed across his screen. The anomalies were intensifying. Time is critical, he continued. Earth's location makes it the perfect defensive position, but only if we can prepare in time. Your gamers have been finding solutions to problems we thought impossible to solve. Now we need to give them the tools to implement those solutions in reality. Chen was quiet for a moment. The gaming community will think it's just another update, won't they? Yes. They'll continue playing, innovating, finding new strategies. But now they'll be training for the real challenge ahead. Verse watched as Sarah's team started another match. Your daughter just developed a tactic that our tactical AIs predict would be 60% more effective than our current containment protocols. Do it, Chen authorized. I'll notify Earth Command and get you full access to our gaming networks. Verse's scales settled into a pattern of deep blue certainty as he watched Sarah's fleet dance across the virtual battlefield. He knew they had a chance. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their ability to turn the impossible into a game and then master it. The Stellar Command Quantum Frontier update rolled out across Earth's gaming networks with little fanfare. To the millions of players logging in, it appeared to be just another expansion pack. New scenarios, enhanced graphics, and more realistic physics. Verse stood in the virtual reality center's control room, watching as players worldwide began exploring the new content. Beside him, Admiral Chen monitored the incoming data streams. Participation rates are exceeding expectations, Chen reported, gesturing to a rapidly climbing counter. Over 2 million players have already downloaded the update. Sarah's team is about to start their first session. Verse's scales rippled with anticipation as he focused on Sarah's pod. The scenario she was about to encounter had been carefully crafted using real quantum gate data, disguised as a new game challenge. Beginning Trial Scenario Alpha, the system announced. Sarah's virtual fleet appeared at the edge of a simulated star system, facing a series of mysterious spatial anomalies. Watch this, Verse told Commander Zix, who had just entered with the latest Concordat reports. She's about to encounter a perfect replica of a predecessor gate activation sequence. On the main screen, Sarah's fleet split into unprecedented formations. Instead of treating the anomalies as obstacles, she was using them as anchor points for a complex web of defensive positions. Computer, analyze tactical innovation, Verse commanded. Analysis complete. Formation demonstrates 47% improved efficiency over standard containment protocols. Novel approach to quantum wake manipulation detected. Verse's secondary arms moved rapidly across his control panel, marking key moments in Sarah's gameplay. She's not just solving the scenario, she's rewriting the basic principles of quantum space defense. Around them, dozens of screens showed similar scenes playing out across the planet. Players were instinctively developing countermeasures to problems that had stumped Concordat tacticians for centuries. Sir, Zix interrupted, his scales shifting to urgent yellow. The latest sensor data from the outer rim. The anomalies are intensifying faster than predicted. Verse nodded grimly. How many viable strategies have we collected so far? Over 3,000 unique approaches, Chen answered, checking her terminal. The neural networks are already synthesizing the most effective elements from each. A cheer erupted from Sarah's pod. She had just completed the scenario with the highest score yet recorded. Verse quickly brought up her solution on the main display. Incredible, he breathed. She used the quantum turbulence as a force multiplier. The energy efficiency readings are off the charts. Mom, Sarah called out, emerging from her pod. Did you see that? The new physics engine is amazing. The way the spatial anomalies interact with shield harmonics feels so real. Verse and Chen exchanged knowing looks as Sarah excitedly explained her strategy. Every term she used might have come from a game, but she was describing advanced quantum mechanics with intuitive accuracy. Admiral, a technician called out, we're seeing similar innovations globally. Players are sharing strategies across servers, building on each other's discoveries. The hive mind effect is exceeding all projections. Versailles moved to the central command station, his four eyes taking in the worldwide data streams. Players across Earth were unconsciously preparing for humanity's greatest challenge, thinking they were simply competing for high scores. Implement Phase 2, he ordered. Begin introducing the advanced scenarios. New challenges appeared in games worldwide. Each one contained carefully disguised elements of real defensive strategies, waiting to be improved upon by millions of creative minds. How long until the gates activate? Chen asked quietly, ensuring Sarah couldn't overhear. Based on current projections, 3 weeks, Versailles replied, his scales showing determined gold. But in that time, your players will generate more tactical innovations than our military think tanks could produce in years. They watched as Sarah started another round, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced precision. On her screen, spatial anomalies blazed with simulated energy, while her fleet executed maneuvers that would soon protect real worlds. It's remarkable, Zix observed. They're treating the greatest crisis in galactic history as entertainment. Versailles' scales shifted to confident blue. That's exactly why they'll succeed. They're not bound by fear or conventional thinking. To them, the impossible is just another level to beat. Above them, Earth's actual defense fleet began quietly shifting into positions first tested in a child's game. The predecessor gates activated during Earth's peak gaming hours. Versailles stood on his flagship's bridge, watching as ancient structures materialized across the sector, their quantum signatures exactly matching the patterns from stellar command scenarios. All players are logged in, Admiral Chen reported from the Orbital Command Center. They think this is the championship event we announced last week. Versailles' scales shifted to battle-ready crimson as he surveyed the tactical display. Millions of human players were unknowingly controlling real defense platforms through their gaming interfaces. At the center of the network, Sarah Chen's team occupied the primary command pod. First gate reaching critical energy levels, Zix announced, his scales pale with tension. Quantum signature matches, Sarah's simulation from 3 days ago. Initiating defense pattern Chen Alpha, Versailles commanded. Around Earth, automated defense platforms moved into the formation Sarah had developed during what she thought was a practice round. The first gate erupted with blinding energy, tearing a hole in space-time. Through it came exactly what the simulations had predicted. Predecessor autonomous defense systems, dormant for millennia, now reactivated and following their ancient protocols. Multiple hostile contacts, the tactical AI announced, matching patterns from gaming scenario Phantom Fortress from last week's tournament. Versailles watched as Sarah's team responded to the threat. Their fingers danced across gaming controls, believing they were testing new content, while actually coordinating Earth's real defense grid. Look at that formation, he breathed, watching Sarah split her forces in a way that perfectly countered the predecessor drone's attack pattern. She's using the quantum wake disruption technique she developed yesterday. The battle unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. Human players worldwide responded to each new threat with strategies they'd practiced for weeks, unknowingly preparing for this exact moment. Sir, Zix reported, players are implementing the Stellar Storm maneuver from last month's tournament. Energy efficiency is 82% higher than projected. On the main screen, Sarah's team executed a complex series of movements that trapped a group of predecessor units in a cascade of quantum interference. The ancient machines, despite their advanced technology, had no counter for tactics developed by children playing games. Second and third gates activating, Chen warned. Multiple hostile signatures detected. Versailles' secondary arms flew across his command console, coordinating the player networks. Implement Operation Digital Shield. Authorization Concordat Prime. Across Earth, millions of gaming screens flickered with new information. Players received what they thought were special challenge missions, each perfectly designed to counter the actual threats emerging from the gates. Sarah's team has broken through the first wave, Zix announced. They're implementing the quantum fold strategy she created this morning. Versailles watched in amazement as Sarah's virtual fleet, controlling real defense platforms, created a complex pattern of overlapping fields that disrupted the predecessor unit's quantum cohesion. The ancient machines began to falter, their programming unable to adapt to tactics that had never existed in their original era. Fourth gate showing signs of instability, Chen reported. The containment pattern is working. Sarah's voice came through the command channel, excited and focused. Mom, this event is amazing. The AI is so realistic. Did you see how we used the quantum eddies to amplify our shield coverage? Versailles' scales rippled with admiration as he watched the 12-year-old girl coordinate a defense that would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. Multiple gates entering shutdown sequence, Zix confirmed. The human players. They've actually done it. They've overwhelmed the predecessor systems with tactical variations that never existed in the original timeline. The battle continued for another hour, but its outcome was never in doubt. Every threat that emerged from the gates was met with strategies developed and refined through countless gaming sessions. The predecessor machines, designed to counter known tactical doctrines, had no defense against the creative chaos of human gameplay. As the last gate flickered and went dark, Versailles' scales settled into the deep blue of victory and revelation. He turned to Admiral Chen, who was watching her daughter celebrate what she thought was just another tournament win. "Should we tell them?" he asked quietly. Chen smiled, watching Sarah excitedly explain her strategies to her teammates. "Soon, but let them enjoy their game a little longer. They've earned it." Above Earth, the defense platforms slowly powered down, their programming updated with tactics first dreamed up by children playing among the stars. 1 week after the battle, Versailles stood before a packed auditorium at Earth's Space Academy. The room buzzed with confusion and excitement as top-ranked players from around the world, including Sarah Chen, gathered for what they thought was a tournament award ceremony. Before we begin, Versailles addressed the crowd, his scales shimmering with formal gold. "I'd like to show you something." He gestured, and the main screen came to life, displaying 2 parallel video feeds. On the left, he continued, is footage from last week's championship event. On the right is actual combat footage from Earth's orbital defense platforms, recorded at the exact same time. The room fell silent as the identical images played side by side. Sarah, sitting in the front row, leaned forward, her eyes widening as she watched her gaming movements perfectly match the real-world defense operations. For the past month, Versailles explained, every scenario you encountered in Stellar Command was a real tactical situation. Every strategy you developed was implemented by actual defense systems. Every victory you achieved saved real lives. He paused, letting the revelation sink in. "Sarah Chen, would you join me on stage?" Sarah walked up slowly, still staring at the screen where her tournament-winning maneuver was now shown dispatching actual predecessor drones. "That quantum fold strategy you created," Versailles said, turning to her, "had never been conceived of in 12,000 years of galactic military history. You developed it because, in your words, the regular moves were getting boring." Laughter rippled through the crowd, breaking the tension. Sarah looked up at Versailles, her expression a mix of disbelief and dawning understanding. "So when I was complaining about the lag in the new update," she began. "That was the actual light speed delay from the defense platforms," Versailles confirmed, his scales rippling with amusement. "You adapted to it faster than our best commanders." Admiral Chen joined them on stage, carrying a small box. "The Galactic Concordat has a proposition for Earth," she announced. "They want to establish the first interspecies gaming academy for strategic innovation." Versailles' 4 eyes surveyed the room. "What you've accomplished here changes everything we thought we knew about tactical training. You've proven that the most effective solutions come not from rigid military doctrine, but from unfettered creativity and the joy of play." He opened the box, revealing a crystalline medallion. "Sarah Chen, in recognition of your contributions to galactic security, You are hereby appointed as the first head of innovation at the new academy. Your first task will be helping us understand how you keep coming up with impossible solutions to unsolvable problems." Sarah took the medallion, then looked up with a grin. "Does this mean we get access to real Concordat tech for our games now?" "Better," Versailles replied. "The Concordat is providing Earth with advanced simulation technology. But this time, everyone will know they're training for real scenarios. We're calling it Project Digital Guardian." The screen behind them shifted to show plans for a massive new facility, part gaming center, part military academy, part research institution. Every species in the galaxy will send their best and brightest to train here, Admiral Chen explained. They'll learn from humans how to approach tactical problems as games to be enjoyed, rather than challenges to be feared. Versailles turned to address the crowd one final time, his scales now showing the deep blue of certainty. "You came here today expecting to celebrate a gaming championship. Instead, you're celebrating something far more remarkable. The moment when humanity's love of play changed the course of galactic history." He gestured to the screens, where recordings of the battle still played. "You didn't just save Earth. You revolutionized how the galaxy thinks about strategy and innovation. And you did it all while having fun." Sarah stepped forward, still clutching her medallion. "So, does this mean we get extra credit for gaming time now?" The room erupted in laughter, and Versailles' scales shifted to match the joyful atmosphere. As he watched the young humans excitedly discussing new strategies, he knew the galaxy's future was in good hands. After all, who better to protect the universe than those who saw it not as a battlefield to be feared, but as a game to be mastered, one challenge at a time. Above them, Earth's defense fleet continued its patrol, guided by tactics that had begun as a child's play among the stars.